Hey everyone, Noe here. So today I wanted to draw my cat Story. I've had her for a long time and she's just so cute. I really love having her around. So I decided to start just with the pencil sketch, going mainly for her body outline first. I thought that would probably be the easiest place to start. The background for the picture was a lot more complicated than I'm used to, at least in the smallest details for the boxes that I wanted to get right. But of course you got to get your subject right first, so I went ahead and just tried to get all of her basic shape in, her fur, sort of the angle that it's going, and then from there I could work around her to be able to develop the background. Pictures on walls are always kind of a challenge, just because the angles are a little awkward most of the time. And then there were some kind of unconventional hangings on the wall that I have. And of course, because there's all these differently shaped objects that are not quite the same size, but are similar in size, you want to try to get those proportions correct. It's just always a challenge when the wall's at a bit of an angle and then there's the elements of shadow that you have to contend with. I was having some issues with her face, but just going up against the original picture and sort of seeing the placement, I was able to correct some of those small details. And then of course there's the challenge of getting the boxes themselves correct with the lettering. That's always an interesting challenge. But when you do get it right, it just feels really satisfying. And with everything being so small, it did take a few retries at times to get the objects to where I needed them to be. I had to do a good amount of erasing, not as much as some other pictures, but I just really wanted to try to get as close an approximation as I could. And these little game boxes are just so fun. There's so many interesting colors and details that they choose to put onto the boxes, the way they're laid out, the way the different art is done. I'm a big fan of board games, so I had a good time putting these board game boxes in the background. These are two expansion boxes. The left one is for Quest for El Dorado, and the right one is for Role Player. And if you like board games, you might have heard of those ones. They seem to be pretty popular, and I really, really like them. Another interesting challenge for this picture was doing this abstract down in the bottom right corner. It just had so many little windows and areas to try to get just right, and I enjoyed that. It was a fun little challenge. Background I am pretty satisfied with. I was able to get enough detail to where you can tell what they are, but then just vague enough to where it didn't have to be exact. And then my favorite part, putting the coloring in. So I decided to start with the abstract because it's just sort of the most outlandish object in the background that was going to take, I don't know, a fair bit of concentration. And I didn't get the colors exactly where I wanted them, but I feel like overall I got them pretty close. It was just an interpretation, so I'm glad I don't have to be exact about it. It's not like I'm doing a commission for somebody, but I definitely enjoy pushing myself to try to get as many of those little colors placed in and blocked in where they need to be. I felt like I had to use so many little greens to try to make that area look as vibrant as it did in the original. It was a pretty complex piece by V, the gritty artist. She did a great job on this one, and I'm very proud of it. And I had a good time drawing it as well. I recently got another table, and thankfully I was able to bring this smaller table to the back room with me. And I just love this new table. It's very helpful to have a table in the back that I can just have set up ready to go for art whenever I want. or maybe with a board game. There's a lot of options having that extra space available. Then I finally get to color in the boxes, and I've been waiting for this. So I want to try to get it close, but then I know I'm not going to have the exact colors that are going to match that box. It's just a lot of the details are too minuscule, but if I can get most of them, that definitely brings me a lot of joy. And I love how colorful the boxes are too. It makes the background just feel more interesting and alive. And it's really fun going back in with the fine liner and adding that black in there to kind of differentiate the background objects. This was really cool too. The role player box had a blue highlight and then it was all dark around the edges. So I wanted to try to emulate that. So I went full stippling on this. It takes so long. Of course, you want to have that consistent patterning around the whole box. So I wanted to make sure to do stippling all the way to the edges, to the extreme edge. And of course, fine liner, bringing in that little dark edge to pull those letters out of the background a bit. Of course, it only works to so much of a degree just because of how small everything is, but those black lines definitely give a little bit more contrast than they would otherwise. They get pretty lost in all that stippling. So having that definitive black edge, for me, that gives that illusion of depth that's so satisfying to see. And then I had a little bit left to do on the Eldorado box. Just the top here needs kind of a red-black gradient. And I didn't end up doing too much on the Eldorado box, but I did have to come back in for the flames on the Monsters and Minions box for Role Player. And coming in for the extreme details to try to give these guys their proper inking. Finally, the main attraction, Story. I always love putting the ink and shading onto her. She's a lot of fun. She has a very dramatic face. I even came in with some color after, just a little bit of brown, light brown. I think it was more like a pale tan, just to give her a little bit more depth, a little bit more color. And then she was on top of, I think it was like a basket or something with a blanket on top. She's just kind of sitting up there looking like a Wookiee.